Out of all places, Purdue elected to go to Iowa City to bolster their explosive offense? All right, so Purdue offensively was one of the better teams in the second half of the season last season. They're looking to replicate that with Aidan O'Connell, one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the country, coming back to start in West Lafayette. So where do they go? You got to think, okay, we need wide receiver talent. We need talent that can make plays all over the field if we want Purdue. This is the year we can win the West this year and head to Indy. Where are we going for our wide receiver talent? We're going to Iowa. Now, when you look at the guys, Tyrone Tracy and Charlie Jones, both transferring from Iowa to fellow Big Ten West school, Purdue, it's more than just the numbers that you got to look at. Because when you look at the numbers for both of these guys, Tyrone Tracy and Charlie Jones, their wide receiver numbers the last couple of years are, Tyrone Tracy had a good freshman season back in 2019, over 500 yards, multiple receiving touchdowns. But what happened since then? That's the big part in all of this. Okay, his frustrations were widely known last season and his lack of targets. So Tyrone Tracy, what do you do when you're frustrated with your lack of targets these days? You get up and you head out of town. You head into the transfer portal. And Purdue is a perfect destination. When I look at Tyrone Tracy, I'm not making a comparison, but I see a lot of what I saw in David Bell. Kind of a shorter guy. He can end up in the slot. He's very fast, can make plays once he gets the ball in his hands, and he can break free away from the secondary. Man, what I see on film from Tyrone Tracy, and now plug him into a Purdue offense that is probably going to be one, if not the best passing offenses in the Big Ten this year, you could see Tyrone Tracy's value skyrocket this season. When I look at Charlie Jones, mainly a returner for the Iowa Hawkeyes these last couple of seasons, and he's a good returner, and that's going to be a big-time spot for him, but I also think he's going to make some big-time plays in this Purdue offense. Okay, because once again, you got to block the numbers out of your head because this Iowa offense has been one of the least productive and one of the least creative offenses in the Big Ten for some time. Okay, so you got to block that out of your head and you got to look at them on film and you got to look what they bring to the table. And you got to look and say, we're going to plug these guys into the Purdue system where they pass a lot and where if you look at the track record for Purdue, and you look at their track record for wide receivers, Rondale Moore and David Bell. Jeff Brom has developed both of those guys into becoming big-time, probably long-term NFL players. So we know when you plug good wide receiver talent into the Purdue system, it's going to go well. And now you put in a quarterback like Aidan O'Connell. This is probably the best quarterback that they've had since Jeff Brom has been at Purdue. They got it figured out. They know who they're going to go with. You plug them into the system with other guys coming in. Here's what they have coming back. Milton Wright, over 700 yards, 7 touchdowns last season. Milton Wright was kind of the guy when teams were doubling David Bell. Milton Wright was the guy that they were going to go to. Okay, and that's big-time production. You step him into a number one role, I could very well see him having over 1,000 yards, 10 touchdowns this season. And that makes things easier for the Iowa transfers, for guys like Charlie Jones, guys like Tyrone Tracy, because now they're not expected to be a number one guy, and they aren't number one guys. Okay, we know that. They weren't number one guys at Iowa. They're not going to be number one guys at Purdue. But now when people are giving Milton Wright the David Bell treatment, now these guys, now they're going to go to these guys. It's going to be one-on-one coverage. Things are going to open up. And you can't forget about Payne Durham, the tight end that's coming back. And one other thing, Elijah Canyon, a transfer from Auburn. Okay, keep an eye on that name. He's got a very similar story to Tyrone Tracy. He had a really good season a few years ago, kind of got lost in the shuffle when things got shuffled around at Auburn, hits the portal, and now he's ended up in Purdue. There is a lot of talent on this Boilermaker offense. Okay, Aidan O'Connell will have plenty of weapons. Last year, they had a great weapon in David Bell. I don't know if they have a guy at the talent level of a David Bell at that great level, but they got a lot of good guys. Maybe last year they had one great guy. This year they're going to have 3 or 4 really good guys at wide receiver that you can distribute the ball to. You're not going to be able to double team one guy because then that opens things up for another guy on this offense. I'm excited to watch Purdue. What do you guys think? You think these transfer additions from Iowa City, of all places, are going to make a big-time difference in the season result for Purdue. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Also, leave thoughts on videos you want to see. We're going to be previewing a lot of stuff now. I'm back and better than ever. We are about 2 months away till Northwestern and Nebraska match up in week 0 out on the rolling hills of Ireland. I'm Big Ten Ted, and we'll see you in the next one.